and welcome to healthyhouseplants.com, where we teach you all about gardening in the great indoors. If you'd like to support our show, please use our Amazon affiliate link below. Today we're going to talk about how to prevent underwatering. Underwatering is second, I would say, to overwatering in terms of killing plants. And it does happen. We get busy. We think, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that the next day. I'll do that the next day. And then finally the plant is drooping, and sometimes it's just a goner. I do have a video on what to do if you have severely underwatered your plant. I'll put a link below for that, as well as any other videos I mention in this video. Okay, so how to prevent this underwatering? Well, one thing you can do is set reminders for yourself. So if you're just finding you're forgetting, you're just not getting those plants watered, just set a reminder, some sort of reminder on your phone, have it buzz for you, a calendar, whatever works for you, sticky notes, whatever works for you to remind you to check your plants to see if they need watering. Now, it doesn't mean to water every Wednesday no matter what, because your plants may not need water every Wednesday, but set a reminder to check your plants to see if they need to be watered. That will help considerably. You'll catch plants that are flagging. I have a video on that, like what plants look like before they are actually damaged and when they do need water. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Okay, now, watering correctly. So when you do water your plants, soak them. A lot of people will confuse, and I have a video on this as well, overwatering. They will think that overwatering is watering too much when they water, and that's not the case. Overwatering is watering too frequently. So what you want to do, however, is when you do water, you want to soak the plant. You want all of the plant, you want all of the soil in the plant to be nice and moist. That way, it will last a while, number one, and number two, you won't be watering too frequently that way as well. So that because the too frequent is the problem with the overwatering, but right now we're talking about underwatering. So when you do water, soak the soil so that it stays nice and moist for a longer period of time. Don't just give it a little drink, but really soak it. So this may mean going to the sink and letting it soak through and getting nice and soaked. If it's a bigger plant, soak it really well in its holder, the water holder, and then afterwards use a turkey baster and go ahead and suck up the excess water in there. If it's a big plant, like I said, that you can't move, so in its saucer, go ahead and do that. Soak up, get up that water with a turkey baster so it's not sitting in water afterwards. Because even though you're trying not to underwater, you definitely don't want to overwater by letting it sit in water as well. So, as mentioned, really soak it really, really well. Also use a soil that is moisture retentive, that drains but is also moisture retentive, like this one. This has some, as you'll see, some pumice, but it also has peat moss, and also soils with coir in them. Coconut coir are also very good because that will retain water. There are a lot of soils out there that are essentially ground up bark. Those are not a good choice, and they will quickly cause underwatering for your plants. So that's another reason that they will be underwatered, is soil that is essentially ground up bark. You want a soil that is mentioned, as mentioned, is water retentive, but still has draining agent in it. It will feel, if you feel the outside of the bag, it will feel squishy to the touch. It won't feel like a bunch of bark in there. You feel a bunch of bark in there, stay away from that soil. Okay, so another thing to keep in mind for preventing underwatering is to be mindful of the location of where you put the plant. So the more sunlight the plant gets, the faster it's going to use water and the quicker it's going to dry out. So make sure you're putting, first of all, in the correct light. You don't want to put a plant just because you're trying not to water it into too low of a light when it needs high light. But be careful too, because there's a lot of plants that like a medium light. So they're not going to want to be in front of a really bright window that dries out the soil really quickly. It will also sunburn the foliage. So be careful about that. The placement. Also remember, in front of air conditioning vents, in front of heating vents, that the plant's going to get dried out a lot faster, and it's not actually a good place for them because the leaves get dried out first before the soil even dries out, but then the soil will dry out faster too. So keep them away from that, from drafty areas like that. Hanging baskets, hanging planters are going to dry out a lot faster than plants that are on tables or lower on tables or the ground. This also applies to things like up on top of a high bookcase. The higher the plant up, the warmer the air is up there, the drier the air is up there, and the quicker it will dry out. So if you're having a problem with a plant that you're underwatering because you're not getting to it because it's hanging or it's up in a high location, put it down some and you will probably have less problems with underwatering. Also, repotting if the plant has become root bound, and also pot bound is the correct term. So if the plant has become pot bound, meaning that there's too much roots in the pot and not enough soil, the plant is going to dry out very, very quickly and you will essentially be underwatering it. So pot up when it's time. When the plant has become pot bound, definitely plant it up and you will greatly cut down on the need to water it and greatly cut down on the chances of underwatering it. So those give you some ideas. That gives you some ideas here of how to prevent underwatering. As mentioned, underwatering is just as bad for houseplants as overwatering. Although some plants are more forgiving than others, such as peace lily, when you underwater them, it's still not a great idea to continually underwater them. It stresses the plant. The plants are designed to take up water, not to sit there without water for days wondering if you're going to get to watering them. So the better job you can do at watering your plants when they need it, the better for your plants, the healthier they're going to look, the happier they're going to look, the happier you're going to feel and look because they look really good. Thank you for stopping by today. Please leave any comments about any indoor gardening tutorials you'd like to see. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And please check the bell if you'd like to be notified when new videos are released.